So hello. Hi, Belina. Hi, everyone listening. Today, I am excited to introduce everyone to Belina from the Healing Stars. Welcome.
Hello.
You are episode 4.
Yes.
Right. So, Belina, I was really excited to do a podcast recording with you. I've spoken with you many times.
Yeah.
I know how amazing you are at your job. I know how passionate you are about what you do. We met many years ago,
Yeah.
connected, and we've remained connected since then.
Yes.
So today we're talking about psychology and play in the early years.
Yeah.
And as a play therapist, obviously, this is you. This is what you do.
Yeah.
And before we begin and we get into it and start chatting, I think it's always good to for me to just give you a minute to introduce yourself. Tell everyone. I know a lot about you, but to tell anyone who doesn't a little bit about you, what you do, your journey here, and whatever other information you want to give us before we begin.
Well, thank you, Katerina. Thank you for the invite. It's always great to have the opportunity to talk about the importance of play and how it can benefit the children and how important it is to be part of their life. So as you said, I'm a play therapist. I work privately with children from 3 up to adolescents. My therapeutic approach is using play. So I worked on one-to-one, offering play therapy to children and adolescents. I have my private practice where I also see parents that they might need some parenting support. They might also need some help with their children. And I think my journey with play therapy, obviously, my studies are in psychology, and then I did my master in child psychology. And when I was doing my master, I wanted to find a way to be able to work with their children therapeutically, because that was my passion. I mean, a lot of the studies around psychology was based around assessment and all that kind of stuff. I was looking more something to work more to help them therapeutically. So during my studies, I learned about play therapy. I got interested about the approach. I was in UK, so it was quite known, the play therapy there. And then I started the journey becoming a play therapist. So when I was there, I trained for 4 years. I worked with children at the children's and the primary school. And then the last 5 years now, I'm in Cyprus, where I have my private practice. And I think why it is important to have also the podcast, because when I came to Cyprus, there isn't play therapy is still something new. I mean, people starting to know about that, but when you start talking to them about play therapy, it's like talking in a different language. They don't really understand what it is, or how you can use it in a therapeutic form. And always when I meet the parents, a lot of the first meeting involving to make them aware and raise the awareness about how it can help the children, how it can benefit. And also for them, they have a lot of questions like, okay, how does it work? Do you play with them? How it can benefit my children? Let's say if something happens, how are you using the play to help them in a session? And it's useful because I'm a parent as well. And if I wanted to for my child to go to therapy, I would want to know how this is going to work. It's always helpful. So I found that now the last few years it's getting a little bit easier, but still it's something relatively new. If you go to UK, or if you go even to America, it's the approach they use mainly with children, especially with small children, using the play and the play therapy.
I was gonna say, when I met you, I think we met in 2018.
Yes.
Play therapy was a very new idea to Cyprus.
Yes.
And I know in the UK it's quite well known, and it's a common tool that child psychologists use. But And I loved the fact that I met you in 2018. You said play therapy. I was like, oh, yes, this is coming to Cyprus. But I still, as you said, I don't think it's clear to everyone what play therapy is. And by understanding how important play therapy is, I think it enhances the importance of play, just generally play, and how important it is in a child's life. Because a lot of people, both educators and parents, they hear the word play and everyone has a different image of what this means. And they sometimes underestimate what play can actually do in a child's life. Before we move on, I want to clarify, and I want, for the purpose of this conversation, I want to be able to clarify for everyone the years we are talking about. So you said from babies, from children until adolescent. What years are we talking? How old can play be applied? Until how old can play be applied into a child's life in order to be a therapeutic tool?
It can, to be honest, it can be applied to all the years. For example, like even if we adolescents, we use play in a more creative way. We use creative ways. That's a form of play. Even with adults, sometimes, like I said, in UK, apart from the traditional CBT psychoanalysis, they use creative arts therapy for adults as well. So play, I don't want people to think that play is only for small children. Even adolescents, when you play a board game with them, you can connect with them. They can feel comfortable. They can start talking to you because they feel that they're having some good time. Even as adults now, we sometimes, and I know it's not that common in Cyprus, but outside of Cyprus, it's not strange for friends to have like a board game night where they gather together and they play board games and they have fun and they laugh and connect without phones, without anything. So play is essential, especially for the smaller children when they're a baby. Yes, it's the most important thing because that's the language they communicate. That's when they would tell us, okay, this is something is happening to me. That's how they connect with us. But really, it's for all ages. So as adults, we can play with our children. And I remember, I understand why it was difficult. It's still difficult because when I was doing my training as a play therapist, a lot of the training was very experiential. We had to do role plays, we had to do play activities, and coming of a background where it was very academic, like the bachelor and the master, it was really difficult for me to get used to, okay, this is not only assignments, this is not only essays. We have to do play, we have to do the activities, we have to experience the whole process. And I found it quite challenging because I wasn't used to that. And then they always tell us, remember how I was feeling when you were children and you were playing. So it was a challenge for me, and I understand why people think, play is not for adults, but it really is for everyone. But most importantly, yes, it's the children. It's very important for the small children, but it could be for anyone. They have benefits, and play, of course, it changes with the age. Like as I said, with adolescents, you play board games. There's a lot of adolescents, they come and we play board games at Uno, and then we connect, we talk, they feel comfortable. So there's
true. It's true. I'd never actually thought, like myself included, I've never actually thought of play being a therapeutic tool as an adult, but it is. You find that when you organize a game night, I'm very big on game nights, you relax and you bond and it is quite therapeutic. But I understand that as a child, for children,
it's really important.
It's a way to communicate as well, because there might be instances where they can't express themselves, but you'll see something through their play.
It's the way to, it's their language. This is how they will show you how they're feeling. their state at this moment. You can also learn from them. Okay, you can see how they see the world, how they process things, their experiences. You can also observe their play and understand, okay, maybe this is what is difficult for my child. This is what the child finds difficult. Of course, they're learning a lot of things about play. And imagine, I'm quite impressed, because when you go to a doctor, when you go to any doctor, how do they approach the children? How do they try to make them feel comfortable? If you go to a really good doctor, they will have toys. They will try and play with the children to make them feel comfortable in order to go through an examination, in order to go through a test, in order to accept. They use play. If you go to any doctor, if there's a doctor who's working with children, and doesn't have to be only a pediatrician, they will have choice, because they will know if they have choice, and they will start engaging with the child. It will be it will be easy for that child to get to stay for the exam, for anything what they need. Even when when they have an operation, children in UK, it's a standard thing. Like when a child is going through a health problem, difficult, and they have to go, for example, through surgery, there's a lot of preparation before. They have toys, they have the play, they give them plenty of activities and opportunities also to feel relaxed, to calm down. But also in any type of assessment, when you're assessing a child, you use play to help you with that, to connect with the child first, and then to help you understand the child. So it's really important.
If we start from step one, so a lot of parents, I know that many parents are quite anxious, and a lot of parents, they don't know sometimes what their child needs or what their child wants, or if there's something wrong. That a lot of parents are anxious that there's something wrong, and there's nothing wrong. A lot of parents are anxious that there's something wrong, and they seek advice. So taking things step by step before somebody gets to you, for somebody to get to you, what type of instances do you feel would be needed for what type of instances? What, if I can ask that question, because that's quite a specific question, but as examples, what is it, for example, if a family is going through a separation or divorce? Is it when there's been a death in the family? If a child is struggling at school? When would a parent need you?
That's, to be honest, there is no, how do I say, and that's a really common question, how, when someone will come to you. Like when you see that your child is going through a difficult time, and that could be anything. It could be a child who's finding it difficult to adjust to school. It could be a child that is going through a divorce. It could be a child his behavior has changed recently, and you don't know exactly why. You don't know how this started. You see changes in your child's life. It could be a child who is struggling emotionally, who has challenging behaviors. So there is no one specific answer. There's a variety of things we can work through play. Imagine if you go to a psychologist, the same thing. They will use play to assess a child. They will use play, even if you go to because that's the way they communicate. What I say to the parents, you know your child better than anyone else. So if you see that something has changed to your child's life, and if that still continues for a long time, it's not, because children, especially with this youngest one, they go through phases. And, sometimes we say, oh, maybe it's a phase, maybe just, and then it will go away. Maybe it's part of normal development. Because often parents come and they say, oh, this is normal, or this is something we should worry about. So if the child's behavior has changed, if you see changes in the child's behavior, and that continues for a long period of time, and it's becoming more and more intense, and it's also disrupting the child's life or the family life, and you feel worried, then maybe, yes, it's time to go and see someone or come to me or see another specialist. Because for me, for example, it could be something a little different from another parent, because I know my child and I know, okay, this is how, this is, I know, my child, so I know maybe this is just a phase. So the best thing is always to be alert and to observe our children. Is there any change? Did something happen? And I need to go and see someone. And always follow our instincts. So there's no one specific answer. If I can tell you, with play therapy, you can work with children that have emotional difficulties, behavioral difficulties, they need help with their social skills, if they go through difficulties with adjusting at school, any difficulties within the family, any changes in their life that you see it's affecting their life, if they have difficulties with sleeping, nightmare, there's really a long list. But the most important thing is for the parents to see, okay, did something happen? Is there a change in my child's behavior? For how long? So they need to really observe and be alert. And always, if they're not sure, it's not bad to ask someone a professional opinion that, oh yeah, it seems like maybe it's a phase, or yeah, it seems like something is bigger. So yeah, we need to look into that. Yeah.
I think this connects with what I was going to mention today and bring up, what is the importance and the power of observation. Because myself, I'm not a play therapist, but I've worked with children long enough to understand that you can find out so much simply by watching and listening to every single thing they do. And it's sometimes the little things. And parents, a lot of the time, they talk and they talk and they talk and they talk and they talk, what my 10-year-old would refer to as lecturing. But we forget sometimes, just watch, and you sometimes don't even have to be involved. I see this a lot in what we do in the role play part, or the small world, where you'll see them interacting. They'll take a mummy and they'll take a daddy, and you'll see them interact with that mummy and daddy, and you'll watch how are they playing out those interactions with mummy and daddy. Or if they're being mummy, and how are they talking to the baby? How are they talking to the child? You can tell a lot, So, I think if, you would ever, anyone would ever be worried about something happening in the family, I don't think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's a case of you going up to a child and saying, is somebody smacking you? Is somebody hitting you? I don't think it works like that. It's a case of are they themselves grabbing a doll, for example, and smacking that doll? Because they've learned it, right?
They saw something, did they actually see it? Did that happen to them? But also, when that happens, it's always the reaction of, when they see something happening in the play, they start asking questions. Oh, where did you see that? Oh, what happened? Why you did that to the doll? Why that doll smacked the other doll? Did something happen? I wonder if something happened to you. And that's it. You instantly just stop the whole process of the child. I know as a parent you worry, because if you see that in your child, you have all these questions in your mind. I want to know if something happened to my child, and I get you. But for that moment, let's let the child play and show us, because at this moment, the child is showing us what has happened, how he's feeling, how he's processing. And then when that's finished, maybe on another occasion, a little bit later, we can have a conversation. If the child is old enough, and we can have a conversation. I noticed that this is what happened in your play. I wonder, if you saw something, if something happened at school, and then, to get the information. But there is the chance also when the children play, to interact them, or to direct them, or to try to intervene, or let's show you how to do it the right way. But as you said, I want the children to be able to guide us, to show us how this is like, this is how I see things. This is what it means to me. And I say to the parents, there isn't like right or wrong way, in their play. They can play any way they want. Of course, okay, we have rules, we have the certain way they can play, but what if they play in a different way? It doesn't really matter at that moment. And I say to the parent, you have to just be with your child, be there for your child. And sometimes parents, they come and say to me, Belina, he plays this fine, but he wants me to sit next to him, and I don't know what to do. He just wants me to be there and watch him. And I said, that's what he needs. So you be there, you stay there, and you watch him. Maybe you can reflect on what the child is doing, but if he wants you to be there, you be there, because that's what he needs. And then I said, why don't you try and see what he's doing? So an interest. We don't have to intervene. Sometimes they just need your presence while they're there, while they're playing, to feel safe, to feel connected. And that happened also in the play. Yeah.
So how would you, what suggestions would you make to parents? You've already said, sit next to the child if they want them to sit next to you. But a parent who is a little bit concerned and they want to use play as a tool to communicate with their child, what suggestions could you give to a parent? What type of environment could they set up? What could they offer their child to encourage a type of play in order for them, to start communicating and open up? What advice would you give to parents on implementing this into the home?
The release when a lot of children, they have the play area where the play and use their play. If you see a child who's upset, or if you feel okay, the child needs it, you can offer, I wonder if you would like to play, to spend some time together, to do something fun. You let the child choose what the child wants to play. So you let the child choose the means that wants to express himself, the way. We can offer suggestions. I wonder, I know you would like to play with Lego, for example. I wonder if you would like to play with Lego. The child says no, I want to play with something else. Then you let the child choose, what the child wants to do. And then the thing is, as I said, it depends on the play. It depends on what they choose. You let the child guide you. They will direct you. If they want you to be and sit next to them and to watch them, then you sit next to them and you watch. If they want you to play and do a certain role, you follow their lead and you let them guide them. What is really important, and something we use a lot in play therapy, we do a lot of, it's called tracking. So sometimes when the child is doing something, we can in a way track what is happening there. Like, I saw you pick up this toy. I saw that this is happening in your play. Like, say if the child picks up a doll and there's a role play, you can basically in a way describe, I see this is what is happening. So you describe what you see. Of course, you don't do it constantly and all the time, so it gets really tired. So there is the fine line. So you can maybe do a comment on two and then stop for a moment, pause, and then you can do another comment, and then you can reflect. And also you can reflect on how you feel the play, how you see the play, how you see the child. If there is a fight, for example, the child has two dolls and they're fighting, say, I can see these two dolls are really fighting. One doll is looking very upset, about what happened. That reflection. I wonder if something happened. So you basically, there's three things. You say what you see. So you describe what is happening in the play. You say what the child is doing. So you describe what the child is doing there. And you say what you feel. What do you think that the child may be feeling there? And there's no right or wrong answer. We can guess, it seems like you're upset. Or if it's the toy, if it's a toy that the child used, it seems like this boy is feeling upset because this is what happened. Don't worry if you made a mistake, if it's not that feeling. The child might say to you, well, actually, it's not angry. Well, he just, he's just sad or something else happened. So it doesn't matter if I don't want parents to think, oh, but what if it's not upset or if it's sad and I say something and we hold my child. Don't overthink of that. If you feel maybe sad, you can say, and this is when we use, oh, I wonder, or it seems like, because it's not like, oh, you feel like that, or the toy feels like that. And then the other important thing is that when the child uses the toys to express and not, for example, him directly or doesn't say it, we use the toys when we do the reflection. Like if they're playing at the dollhouse and there is a boy, and the boy, for example, I don't know, there is a boy feeling sad, and the child say, oh, this boy is feeling sad because he had a really bad day at school and he didn't have any friends and he wanted to play with his friends. So we, in our reflection, we use the boy doll. We don't use the child because we don't know if the child is talking about himself or if he's talking about someone else. So we say, oh, I get that boy is sad. He wanted to play with his friends, but they didn't want to. That's why he's feeling sad. So we do the reflection and we help the child. And then to start processing maybe what has happened or why the child, why he's feeling like that. If our children said, well, actually, this is me, I felt like that, or my friends didn't play with me, then we do the reflection. Oh, I see. You felt sad. You wanted to play with your friends, and they didn't want you. I would feel sad if I were you. Yeah, you're right. It must be really difficult. So you do that reflection. But
that whole process, it sounds a lot like the method that we use when something happens in class. So the methods that we use in class is, if something happens, if there's an interaction, it's an interaction obviously that shouldn't be happening, an inappropriate one. So a smack, obviously, babies, this happens. A smack or a push or something like that. It's stop, reflect, regulate, redo. So it's kind of going through the process of, as you said, reflecting. And we say, you did that because you were angry, maybe? And then they say, no, I was actually sad. And then you say, okay, well, let's regulate our feelings. So we'll go through a process of breathing. Let's take a deep breath. And then we'll redo that whole interaction of how it could have gone. So, in the example that you said, it could be that a child is feeling sad because their friends wouldn't play with them. And we could, it might be a process of, let's help that child to find the confidence to speak and say, but I want to play as well, or ask a question, why won't you play with me? And so it sounds a lot like the methods that are used in the early years environment.
This is the way. And then again, when you want to help the child, when you can use play, I wonder, like what the little boy could do to help him. If they're still using the toy, the little boy, the toy, well, I wonder what the little boy could do then next time. Or actually, that boy could do that, or could go and ask another friend to play. Okay, maybe we can try that. Maybe we can do a role play doing that. So that's a good idea. We can try that. And through the role play, they are walking through, okay, this is how it's happening. They're exercising their skills. Okay, then how I can go and approach another child, for example, and ask, can I play with you? And then working through, and it's not very direct. So sometimes it's really difficult to face your challenges, to face your difficulties. So doing that through play, it helps you to do that and also keep a little bit of distance, maybe if you're not 100% ready. If a child is using the toy, the doll or a toy, that means that maybe they're not 100% ready yet to face their challenges. When a child says, this is me, or this is how I'm feeling, yes, they are ready, and then you can start working with them in a more direct way. Let's do a role play together, for example. How would you go and approach your friends? How we can do it? And then you can role play that with a child. But if they're still using a doll, that means maybe they're not ready yet. So we use the doll during a role play with dolls, for example.
Okay. Well, I'm a big, I'm a big fan of play. I think most educators in early years are, or they should be if they're not. Because as you said, it's a very important part. It's the way they communicate, it's their language, as you said so wonderfully. I could ask you questions for hours, but unfortunately, it's only a limited amount of time I have you. But is there any ending note that you'd like to leave on? Anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to explain or suggest to parents listening?
I think we need to be free and be playful with our children. I think we need to be more playful with our children as a parent and as adults as well. And that's something that's not easy nowadays because of how our life is. But we need that as well. I strongly believe we also need that as adults, and our children need that. We need to be more playful with the children, just be more relaxed with them. So
yeah, I agree. That's a really nice note to end on. Well, Belina, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I really enjoyed this episode. I think a lot of the information you shared, a lot of the things you discussed are useful not only to parents but to educators and anyone who comes into contact with children. So I want to thank you. I will be putting your information at the end of this episode. So anyone who has further questions, because obviously there's so much more to cover. This is such a huge topic and it's such an interesting one. There's bound to be more questions that people have. If it's all right with you, I'll put your information at the end of the episode.
No problem. Yes, no problem.
If anyone wants to get in touch with you to have a chat, I mean, me personally, I've asked you about my children before, so I know you're a really useful person to know. So anyone can get in touch with you. But thank you again.
Thank you, Caterina. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. And thank you to everyone who's listening. And bye-bye for now.
Bye.